my guest to you. If you know her, you know why I'm excited. If you don't know her, you will soon know why I'm so excited. So my amazing, brilliant, beautiful, insightful, intuitive friend, Leslie Bauer, is with me today. And let me just read you her official bio, and then we'll actually talk about how amazing she is. So Leslie is a real estate broker and investor, and intuitive mentor. Leslie has integrated the practical world with her love of arcane, mystical truth. She is passionate about helping others leverage their gifts and produce meaningful results through radical honesty and spiritual growth. Hell yes, sister! Hello, Leslie! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Hi, Kristen. Well,
Hi.
before we get started, I would like to acknowledge you for what you've created and what you're putting out into the world, and with passion, with fire, with joy, with energy, and it's exciting and beautiful, and I thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's it's interesting because what it's doing is it's causing me to really ask deeper questions about what I am doing and why I am doing it and what the impact is that I get to have. So thank you for the acknowledgement. I appreciate that. I receive that. And it's also in my highest. Like, this is just me operating. I'm just listening. And this is new for me. And you and I have had conversations along this line, but you and I have had like one of the main reasons why, well, there's lots of reasons why I wanted Leslie on the show, but one of the main ones is that I had no idea how spiritually connected she is. And she kind of dropped it on me one night. We were kind of staying at the same place, and she did this whole session with me, and I was like, who are you? Where have you been? Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So love your bio. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about who you are out in the world and what you stand for.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a big question.
It is. I'm dropping it.
That's a huge question. Well, let's rewind to that night. So I think that I'm going to rewind like a really long ways back to, so the night that you and I came together, or we were staying at the same place. It was super fun. And then I was having like this nudge to bring something up, and I did, because we have a really open, easy relationship. And then what ended up taking place that night, it was just like, it was crazy. It was powerful. It was amazing. And it was basically just following this string of intuition and this string of honoring the energy that showed up, and with conversation. And there were a lot of things that were integrated into that, but it was following this whole thing. But I'd love to rewind to when that started. Yeah. And I was 21 years old. So that would have been a bit, like a minute ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yes, 3. Based on how gorgeous you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, when I was 21, don't I wish, but it was, I was going through this hard time, and my mom had been working with this like energy worker who was helping my sister. And my mom's really not into energy workers, especially not back then. Gosh, that was a really long time ago. So I think that the world has made a lot more progress, but my sister, and I won't mention which one because people watching this may know my sisters, but one of them was really having some behavioral issues and just struggling with school, super ADD, very angry. I don't know. She was in probably grade school or early junior high. And my mom had it for what, I have no idea. I'd love to hear that story, how they got together. But this energy lady was like really, really helping my sister overcome whatever it was that she was up against with her internal emotions and things like that. So I ran into this like crazy situation, which I won't go into the detail, but I was really upset about it. And I called this lady. I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do, but I need some help right now. Are you available? Can I set up an appointment? And she's like, sure, come on over. And so I went over to her house, drove over, pretty distraught about everything that was going on. And she, at that time, so essential oils way back then, this would have been, hold on, let me figure this out. This would have been 2002. Okay. So in 2002, essential oils were just coming out, and she was like on kind of the ground level of one of the companies who started in Utah, and anyway, awesome products. Well, she used this product on me called Release Oil, and it's a blend of essential oils through aromatherapy and all their powerful things. I had no idea what it was at the time, but she opened it up, and I'd been in this, like, the situation that I was distraught about for about a year and a half, and I'd never been able to cry. And and I hadn't cried at all in that year and a half. She like literally cracked the bottle and I started to just like bawl on her couch. Well, little did I know, I knew nothing about any of this, but that essential oil was a release oil. Well, she did this incredible session, just like honoring what came up and I'd never had an energy session before. I had no idea what that was. Since then, certainly I've had more because they're wonderful. But that night, so it was a really powerful session, maybe an hour, something along those lines. She was so awesome. And that night, the situation shifted. Like this whole chain of events came out of nowhere and completely shifted. And it changed the direction of my life. And I really, essentially, I attribute that moment and that woman to pulling me out of a pit I was in somehow or another and just like redirecting it. So after that, I was curious. And over the period of several years, I think that I really started to just get more involved in just talking to her, like, what did you do? What was that about? And she basically taught me that we're always getting information, and being able to honor it is basically half the battle of being able to honor what shows up and be able to speak it or express it or write it or whatever. So it was just this process of getting in tune with ourselves. And then additionally, essential oils, I bought some because I thought they were cool. Like, I thought that they smelled good and I wanted some. So I bought this little starter kit that was I think it was 7 essential oils, like teeny tiny bottles way back when. And I started to put them in my bathtub and I thought that they were just, smelled really good. And that was it. So it was more like kind of a novelty. Well, I started to realize when I was having baths, I would get all like high, basically. I was just like flying high, like feeling my highest self, feeling so good about the world, feeling really optimistic, and I did not connect the dots for quite a while that I had these essential oils. And I'm not trying to sell essential oils here. I don't sell essential oils. I don't have any idea, right?
Like not associated.
Totally not associated. So this was back in early 2000s. And that's really where I started going on the journey, which, by the way, the fact that I did that with you, I don't really do that very often. I have very few people that I interact with about that kind of stuff. And so the fact that it arose for you and I at that time was slightly unexpected, but at the same time, I really, it was really strong. It was a very, very strong nudge to bring that into the open. And I think of course I asked your permission and things like that for us to go that direction. And then what ended up happening it was really memorable, wasn't it?
It was really,
so I'm not sure. So what do I stand for in the world in terms of that question? I mean, really, I stand for integrity, but saying that with weak integrity to a certain extent. Like I'm a human and I really, really, really want integrity, though I'm weak in so many ways. So I am constantly looking to increase that in all different areas of my life. And at other times, throw tantrums and who knows what gets in the way of like that highest and best thing. But I really, really strive for that. And I think that's important in terms of intention. And you and I'm in leadership, which is kind of like integrity school.
It is.
It is. Yep. That's one of the things that we get to learn painfully and not so painfully. But I think that the progression and the pathway of integrity is, I think a lot of the stuff that I do kind of like revolves around that. And that includes integrity with the non-physical. And so I'm very intrigued by the non-physical, have been for a really long time. And of course, everything tends to play out in the physical, but I think it starts in the non-physical.
Okay. So I love this. So the name of the show is Soul, Wit, and Wisdom. And really, you know me. So, like I'm on a soul journey. I'm on a spiritual journey. And I believe there is an internal wisdom, the wisdom when we are connected to our highest self, the wisdom that's always available to us, wisdom, intuition, knowingness, highest self, right? And then wit is just because you know me and I like to be goofy. So the purpose of the show right now is that I bring people in who can have a conversation that can offer up some sort of wisdom around not necessarily even the current situation that we're in right now, but really like showing the resolve and the resilience of human being. So I know you've been through some shit in your life. Raise your hand if you haven't. Like, and for a lot of people, this is heavy, like heavy shit. And a lot of people don't know how to navigate it, or they're afraid of it. Or so one of the things I ask my guests to come on is, tell me about a time in your life when, you know, that may have been one where you were really like in this place of, holy F, I don't even know like how to break out of this, or this is a really fucked up situation. And what did you learn about yourself, about the world, about spirituality, about people, about whatever it is that you learned that you can offer up as, here's what I got out of my rising through the ashes on this. Like, give me something else. Because I want to actually, maybe it's not even for this show, but I love, because I've never heard that story before on how, like, I really do, like, who you are for me, Leslie, just so you know, is highly connected to source. Like, you, like that. And I had no idea that's who you were until we had that session. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I just went with all of it and trusted you implicitly. And it was magical. Like, it was fucking magical. So we're going to pause that. But I want you to just talk about, like, share a time in your life when, could be another one, where shit was just bad. Like, it was, you know, you were just in this place, and what you discovered about yourself to rise up out of it.
Well, I've had a lot of those. I've had a lot of dark nights of the soul, from starting at, I don't know, probably a pretty young age. And I like what I've found tends to work every single time. How quickly I get to the solution is something else to discuss. But
can we discuss it?
What? I mean, yeah, we'll discuss it all, but I mean, but I tend, at certain times I'll have resistance about it. And you and I have had conversations regarding what it's based in, but what it's based in is radical honesty with ourselves. But what's pulled me out? Okay. So I have an analogy. I've talked about this on Julie Surratt's Facebook page. Okay. So I just had this happen recently. I opened my fridge. I love my fridge. I love everything in my fridge. I love to eat. I love it. I love it. I open my fridge. I'm like, something does not smell right in here. What is it? And I'm like, you know when you like open the fridge and there's something not good. Yeah. And it's disturbing because fridge is a sacred zone.
It's disturbing.
So I'm like, okay, I bet it's this. I toss that thing out. So then a few hours later, open it up again. I'm like, oh, there's still something. I don't like it. This only happens every few years, right? So then this just happened last week. It was so funny because I used this analogy a long time ago. Another thing, I'm like, okay, maybe it's this thing. So I throw away another thing. And then the next day, I'm like, it's getting worse. What's in there? I'm already going through everything in my fridge. I'm like, there's nothing here. This is all good food. This is all fresh. There's nothing wrong here. Throw something else away. So I go through like 4, who knows, maybe 5 iterations of throwing things away, even though I don't think that's it. I'm like, whatever, just toss it. Well, long story short, what I ended up finding in the back of my cheese drawer, I'm getting to a point. I promise. I'm getting to a point.
It's so good.
In the back of my cheese drawer, I forgot I had shrimp cocktail. It was all about shrimp cocktail, right? So I had a few shrimp cocktail because my belly got too full. And so I put, I don't know, however many shrimp in there. They've been in there, like in the back of my cheese drawer, in a plastic baggie forever. And I totally forgot. Why would shrimp be in the cheese drawer? That makes no sense.
No.
So but here, I found the culprit. Finally, I found the culprit. Simple, easy. And actually, I found the culprit at maybe 11 p.m. at night, which therefore means I got to get this out of my house, which means I'm putting on slippers. I'm putting on the whole thing to get this so far away from my house as humanly possible so it smells wonderful and fresh in the morning. And then I wake up and my fridge is refreshed again, right? Yeah. Problem solved. Found that. So bringing that back around to what's pulled me out of the dark depths of the dark, basically just the dark. Yeah. I've been there. I've been some dark places, very dark places. And what pulled me out was digging really deep. And I'll throw something out. I'll be like, this is what it is. Get rid of that. This is what it is. Get rid of that. This is nope. Still not working. Finally get to that thing as to what it is through digging. And there's a process of doing that, but to really get down to that piece and throw it out. And the way to throw it out is to ultimately surrender it to the non-physical, to the universe, to the higher power, to God, whatever that thing is. But there's a really predictable way of being able to dig through that stuff, see it and find it and get rid of it. And then all of a sudden things smell better. Like all of a sudden things lighten up. All of a sudden there's like a new flow, a new power, a new something else that flows in. And but it really does require radical honesty in order to get there and see it.
Okay, so you used two of my favorite words smashed together: radical honesty. That book changed my life, honestly. Leslie and I were in a advanced level transformational leadership program together, and there's a book called Radical Honesty, Brad Blanton. And I don't know if you had the same. I don't know if you had the same reaction to that book, like actually how it impacted your life, but it shifted me in a way. And it's funny because I talk about the truth, right? Like the truth, and the truth is ever changing. The truth is fluid and not fixed. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about the truth of like the soul, like, right? Because this really is like the truth of who you are is that thing. It is the higher. It is our connection to source, God, spirit, universe, oneness. And what I love what you said about this, what it requires to connect to that is digging in to the crevices that you're like, well, what's behind that? And sometimes that's one of the most scary things we can do, is to really look at the shit that stinks in our lives, the shit that stinks in wherever it's showing up. Like it could be financial, it could be in relationships, it could be in our health. But the power that we have when we're willing and courageous enough to look, like courageous enough to say, something isn't right here. Because we know it, because we just don't feel right, or shit doesn't smell right, to stick with the analogy. Mm-hmm. What is it? And it's never out there. Like the fridge is you. The analogy is the fridge is you. It's not out there in anyone else. It's not there in any other circumstance. And it is powerful and profound work, and sometimes the scariest shit we can do.
Right. Absolutely. It certainly is.
So you've basically used that as a tool for yourself. Like if things aren't working, if you're in what I would say like the depths of despair or really upset, like you actually go to work on looking for the stinky shrimp.
To varying degrees, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes it hurts. Yeah, because you're human.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that.
Well, I mean, I think like the motivating factor to get there is pain.
Right.
And sometimes the pain just isn't quite bad enough to finally look and see. So that's with me anyway.
Hold on.
I'll kind of put it off and be.
Stop 1 second. I'm just going to write that down. I know it's being recorded, but the pain isn't bad enough to finally see. What'd you say? To look at it?
I have no idea what I said.
Son of a bitch, Leslie. I rely on my younger generation to remember things because can't. The pain isn't bad enough. Yeah. So basically, I'm not in enough pain, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever, to really do the work, to really do the digging. Or I'm willing to suffer in this moment. Like I'll take
willing to suffer, and for me, in a lot of ways, can like mean willing to or staying right, staying right about something, and it's exhausting. And ultimately, like the price is just continue. Unfortunately, with energetic stuff in my own experience, it tends to have its own interest. Like the universe somehow has a perfect accounting system that also calculates interest, because the longer that things don't get addressed, the more interest comes due. And then it's weird how it'll like spread to different areas. Yep. And I mean, I really like the fridge analogy because for me, it's just, it finally just becomes unbearable. I'm like, okay, it's 11 p.m. at night. Mm-hmm. I've already gone through everything in this fridge, and here we go. We're gonna find what the heck this is, and I'm going through it, and I found it. In that case, but with the like the non-physical stuff that clogs us up, the basis of it is typically fear, and but there's plenty of manifestations of fear.
Okay, so let's go back to the moment when you had this session with this woman. Was that the beginning of you realizing your own intuitive, spiritual, I'm going to call them powers?
Yeah,
okay.
It was.
What shifted? Like, so after that, then what happened? Like, how did it play out over? You said it changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, well, it was the circumstances changed within within 5 months, the situation that I had been really stressed out about, like it started to change that night, but it was fully resolved within 5 months. And then that situation was holding me back from another situation. And then and then the new thing, which was actually a new career path, ended up manifesting itself a few months after that. So it was like, but I feel like for me, it was just like a really powerful, energetic redirection shift of some sort. And I mean, it took a long time for me to start. It wasn't like right there I'm like, oh, I can access intuitive powers, which everybody can. Everybody's got, it's just like, I think it can sound fluffy as intuition.
Yep.
But a lot of people, and especially like what I go to is like men have they wouldn't really call it intuition per se, but there really is I think that men and women have different types of intuition. And
I would agree.
It's kind of cool. So no, it took a long time for me to like start to, but I just remember her recommending, because she somewhat mentored me over a couple of years, and she had talked about just honoring what I see and honoring what comes up. Mm-hmm. And then I went into some other trainings further down the road that was also about honoring what's coming up. And by honoring, I'm talking about like tapping into something and feeling into it, and not necessarily there's really a line of discernment between honoring our lower aspects and honoring our pride versus coming from a place of humility and moving into service. Like there's kind of different come froms. And I think I can personally get tripped up on like the word of honoring something that's coming from within can get a little bit dicey, just because some of it is our own BS and projection and some of it is true. Right. So there's always that to navigate. But in terms of like dark night, I see dark nights as like reinvention. I see that when things collapse, and I have a couple friends right now who things are in full on collapse mode, and just like basically their way isn't working out. Like what they want to happen isn't happening. But then when things have collapsed for me in the past, and it's been really upsetting and embarrassing, and there's just been a lot of emotional packed into that. Then in that space of what you're talking about, like the ashes, what came crashing down, like something pure came out of that, like something really pure and vital and aligned certainly did like grow out of those ashes one way or the other once I got through it. Well, I mean, as I got through it, but once I got through it too.
So speaking about the state of the planet right now and where we're at and what's going on, what do you see? Go as far fucking out as we, Leslie Bauer, this is why you're on this show. Like, go as far fucking out as you want.
I mean, I'll just go, like, ultimately, I think that we're in reinvention completely. And I think that it is an opportunity and an invitation for soul searching. It's also an opportunity and an invitation to see, like, as a collective, the soul searching, but also, in my opinion, there's been, I don't want to use the word that I'm thinking of. So I'm going to find a different word. Hold on.
Tell me the word just real quick.
I can't tell you the word.
It was a trick and you didn't fall for it. Just real quick. Text it to me. I'm just kidding.
So I think it's just really what it is mind games. And that there have been a tremendous amount of mind games across multiple layers of reality, of society. And a lot of that stuff it's on its last leg, so to speak. And so I'm excited for what's happening. It's very uncomfortable. I live in Wyoming. Having oil prices go negative yesterday was super uncomfortable, as we're a very energy dependent economy over here. But there's certainly the virus is scary. Unemployment is scary. And how this is compromising freedom and liberties, and in a lot of ways can be scary as well. But I think that what we're going to get to see as we continue down this path is I think the veil is going to be lifted in many ways, and that the human race is increasingly more and more hungry for truth, like hungry for what's real. And in fact, I was just having a conversation with my sister today, even like with the coaching industry. In marketing in general, there used to be, we're just, it's almost like, you know, how people will build up an immunity to, I don't know, something medical like viruses or something along those lines. We're building an immunity to what isn't real. Sure. There you go.
Are we building up an immunity to inauthenticity? Are we building up an immunity to like something's not right here? Like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it's accelerating. There's a velocity to it. And so what's going to come out of that is incredible. Like I'm so optimistic about what's taking place.
I am too. So, and you and I haven't talked for a really long time. Whatever, Leslie Bauer is honestly, like one of my favorite people. You really are. And I wanted you on this show, and I wanted you to have whatever conversation came up today. Like we just get to have whatever conversation comes up. And, there is a collective stirring, you know, there's a collective questioning. Like I have questioned shit from forever. Like that's just been my nature. Like, do I really believe that? Okay. Like, and I'm talking like, you know, like for me, I graduated college and I got my degree and I was like, okay, great. I'm going to take a year. I'm going to take a year off and I'm just going to keep waiting tables and then I'll go get a real job. And then that year was up and then I went and got a real job and I lasted for 6 months. And I was like, you can't pay me enough to do this bullshit. And I knew that was never going to happen. It was never going to be my path. At the time, that hurt. That felt very dark because I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me that I don't fit into that construct, that I don't fit into that game, that I'm unwilling? I don't know where it came from, but it was everything in me was like, hell fucking no. And it hurt for a really long time because I made it mean something about myself. Like, wow, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I know I'm smart. Like I knew I was smart. I also knew I was like street smart, like common sense smart. But I just, for whatever reason, couldn't go down that road. Hindsight is it's a beautiful blessing. It's a beautiful lesson to be able to go, oh, okay, that wasn't meant for that. Never was. This is what I was meant for. But while we're going through it, it hurts. If I had had the ability to surrender what it meant, like meaning, you know, what I see is so possible right now is like we are constructing new ways of being. Like we're constructing that what's possible for us right now as humanity is to really look. And I think what you said was it's an invitation for soul searching. It's an invitation for us to look, just even if it's just out into the world and say what's working, what's not working. And not just for me. I don't really, I care less about what's working, not working for me. Although it is an indication for also like humanity, but really globally, like what's working, what's not working. And we can see the impacts of the things that we have created over time, that we've agreed to over time that aren't working. So, and I love that you said the veil will be lifted and that human beings really are like collectively we're hungry for the truth. So how would you guide someone to say, to be connected, to be able to connect to their own truth? Like what are because I think I know some of the ways that you do this for yourself, but like, what would you say to someone saying, how do I determine what my truth is?
Well, let me rewind again. So how that came up for me it was New Year's Eve. I wish I knew what year it was. I'm thinking maybe 2006. So 2006, I didn't want to go out. I typically don't go out on New Year's Eve. I like to stay in and keep it, like start out the new year with intention and quiet and all those sorts of things. So I had a really, really strong intention that year. And I was just like, all I want is truth. Like really, 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 all I want is truth. And that was the start. It started that night where I tripped upon some information. I'm sure everyone has that situation. All of a sudden a book comes in your orbit, or all of a sudden a documentary, or all of a sudden you talk to someone new or find a new teacher or come across someone's Facebook page or whatever it is. And so I was like extremely genuine and wholeheartedly requesting truth. And then started with, well, now it's just out of control, like where that particular thing took me in the best way possible. And but I just had a shift on that, which is really interesting because that was about 14 years ago ish.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I wish I knew, but I don't. I think it was 2006. And so now I just had this really strange twist happen, like maybe last week, maybe the week before.
Don't like leave me hanging. You're gonna share?
I'm gonna tell you. I'll tell you a strange twist.
On the edge
what happened was, like my question was about the external truth. I wanted to know the truth about out there. I wanted to know like about history and like ancient history and the universe and who knows, just it was like the out there truth.
Yeah.
And that's been active, and I've been down 1,000 rabbit holes, and they're the greatest. I love them. And then, but what the twist was that ended up coming through recently was like the truth about Leslie Bauer. Like, what is the truth about Leslie Bauer? And so it comes to like that question, like that wholehearted question. And how that came about was a friend of mine is writing a book about she has a son who is believing lies about himself, and so she made this beautiful like artistic book. It's so cool, and about Darling, I Wish You Knew. And then she goes through the whole alphabet and has all these adjectives that she sees for her son that he doesn't see about himself because he's believing lies. And it was kind of profound. It like really hit me. I'm like, wow, what lies am I believing about myself? Because there's a lot. I'm sure there are plenty. And so then taking that same, like, it's kind of the same recipe, so to speak, that recipe of like wholeheartedly passionate, like burning, like I really want to know the truth. And so that's what I recommend for anyone to start out with is, I mean, if someone wants truth, if somebody wants anything, I don't know, for some people it may not be truth. But for me, it's always been truth.
So and your mechanism is asking.
My mechanism is asking, but it's not just asking like, hey, would you
hey, if you don't mind.
Hey. I was thinking maybe
it's not cool. Like it's fine. Like that, like fucking stake in the ground demand. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a demand, although I like that.
I've heard people say that before.
I like demand command energy. That's kind of fun. But no, it was just like, no, I'm serious. Like, no, I'm really serious. I really want to see this. I really want to know. I really want to have this thing. And it has been an incredibly fascinating, fun trajectory. So, but it's not the ask, it's the girth to the ask. It's like the energy, it's like the texture, it's like the weight, the density, the gravity of the ask. I go there all the time.
You guys get that? Like, so you said you go there all the time.
Yeah, the gravity. Like I go to places of gravity of like what's so important, and that's constantly shifting as to what that is. But like wanting, okay, let me back up. So there's a person in my life who's been in my life for a period of time. I realize I talk in lots of ambiguities, but this person, I'm like, you are so blind. I cannot handle it. Like, you are so blind. Why can't you see this? Why can't you see what's going on? Why can't you see how your actions impact people? Blah! It's like that thing. And then I turn around and I'm like, I wonder what I can't see. Like, I wonder how blind am I?
Yeah.
And so then there's like the gravity that comes with that. And I'm like, okay, I want to see. Like, I want to see. I really, really do. I want to see. I want to hear. I want to feel. I want to know. And then there's just like this, I don't know, maybe gravity is not the right word, but there really is a potency to that request. And where that takes me sometimes is not what I was hoping for. However, the lesson is always very, very strongly landed, whether it was in the packaging I wanted or not.
Yep. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, and I don't know, because we didn't talk about this. And you don't have to, like, I'm not putting you on the spot, but is there a free gift? And I'm going to ask you this question. So most of the people that come on give a free gift. It could be an ebook. It could be a call with you. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do that, what I want to do is I want to ask you the final question that I ask everyone that comes on. Mm-hmm. What is the meaning of life?
Wow. I think the meaning of life is remembering.
I love that so much. I'm sorry. Okay, remembering. Say more.
That's what comes to mind.
So what does that mean for someone who's like, what do you mean remembering?
Well, I kind of think that it's the analogy that comes to mind is like a seed has always been a tree. Like it's always had the tree thing with it. And so from the perspective of a holographic universe, then within the holographic universe model, every piece of the whole has the whole within it. And so I think there's just like, it comes down to all this stuff that we've been talking about, like the veil, the illusions, the lies that are believed, the fears that are believed, the blindness. And so the remembering piece is, I believe it's all here, right here, right
it's
now.
Already here.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And so it's not for me necessarily like growth or evolution or progression or anything like that. It's kind of the opposite. It's like, it's like backwards.
Yeah.
Little bit. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea what the meaning of life is. I couldn't even pretend to know what the meaning of life is. And I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm okay with it being like an infinite mystery.
Okay.
But I have a topic we need to talk about though before we go.
Oh my God, yes.
Anything else you need to cover? That's fine. But I have
no. Please drop it.
Okay. Topic is quarantine food, and topic is newfound love in the quarantine. So for an example, newfound love for me within quarantine, here's what happened. I love French bread. I love at the store. They make like the fresh French bread every day. I buy such French bread. It's just me. I live here with my dog who doesn't eat bread. So then it's in like this thing where it will get hard very fast. So I'll have like 2 slices and then I have to throw it away. Right. Well, now that there's a quarantine, the store is putting it in the same bag, but under that bag, there's a plastic bag. Why I never thought of like preserving my own French bread in a plastic bag. But I am so obsessed with French bread right now. I'll take it. Cause it's fresh and it's soft and it's wonderful. And now it stays for longer because it's in a plastic bag instead of this like brown paper bag that it used to come in. Well, it still comes in it, but right. So there's longer preservation of this thing that I love, that I don't eat it, that I can't eat fast enough before it gets hard. Listen, French bread, sliced thick with like, I don't have a toaster and I don't want a toaster. I just put it in my oven. So I'll put it on broil and I'll put it in my oven for a little bit. And typically I'll forget about it and it'll get too crispy. But when it's perfect and I don't forget about it and it's not too crispy, coconut oil on French bread. It could be, I'll put like hard-boiled eggs on top of it with salt and pepper. I'll put avocado stuff on top of it, or I'll put like jelly, either way. But newfound love, fresh French bread. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything newfound love?
God, no one's asked me any questions. Newfound quarantine love?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, it's been the permission, what feels like permission, right? It feels like permission for me to stop fucking pushing everything, like stop fucking driving everything and actually be with my kids. Like as a mom and as an entrepreneur, it's always felt like, gotta bring in the money, it's constant. It has been up until now constant. I get now that's not the truth. Like that is not the truth. But this whole collective thing for me has been so magical because, and I called in the time and space to actually just breathe for a minute, to like stop for a minute and be able to look around. Like be able to look around and find gratitude in right now. I will never, I don't know, like not really sure if I will ever have this kind of time with my children. And also this what feels like a pause from my business. I have not created anything. I'm not making offers. I'm not like, it doesn't feel like that's what's needed because I'm listening. What's needed for me right now is to do interviews like this and to just give out, to support people, to like empower, uplift, inspire, and to see the possibilities and pull them out of people. Like having you share your wisdom and your knowledge with me right now, I just know energetically that's going to go out. Someone's going to hear this interview and our conversation, and it's going to be the exact thing that they need to hear. And so the blessings for me, like the things in quarantine, are like actual real connection with my girls without the guilt of I should be working right now. And that I know that I can actually, that's what's going to work going forward. Like I got this beautiful gift and I get to keep that. Like it gets to just, that's going to be my new normal. Like that's going to be my new normal. The other thing I have to say is I went running yesterday. I don't like to run. Running hurts. Like there's a lot of things about running that I don't like. But one of the things I do like is when it gets me into this mindset of like, I can go one more step. Like, and what's possible for me when I can go one more step is I know myself without limits. In just that moment, I know myself without limits. Like I don't listen to the voice in the head that's like, ow, that hurts, or you should stop, or your lungs are burning, whatever it is. And I got to be out in nature and just feel the air going in my lungs, feel my muscles working, be able to be in, like, I live in Phoenix, and so it's gorgeous right now. The sun, I mean, like, it's like a high. It's the presence, just to be able to be present is it's indescribable. So those, I would wrap it up as saying like being able to be present, like in all things with my girls, with my husband, and like out there in the world. So that's
I love it.
Thank you for asking.
It's so good. You're like existential ecstasy. I'm like French bread right here.
No. And
no, I love yours. I love
yours. Of course there's like, is there any, like, I love it. No, seriously, like it's been, the French bread thing for me is pretty, I love it. I love that yours is French bread. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. Is there a free gift that you have that you want to offer? And if there isn't, it's not a big deal.
No, I don't think so. Although I would say that on my Facebook page, I did an interview with Brandon Burrow, and he has started a Facebook group where he's having people dive into their own creativity and just have kind of like an incubator of sorts. It's called the 4C Facebook group, and it's on the interview on my page. And I think that's cool. I think it's fun. I really dig that the creativity is absolutely blossoming everywhere. So free gift from me, not today. However, that would be a fun gift for somebody to go.
Okay. So basically what I'm going to do when we're done with this interview is I actually put the interview link, like people can watch the interview. So is it cool if I link to that? That was an interview that you did on your Facebook page?
Sure thing. You could go or just directly to his Facebook group if you want. The Facebook group link is in there too.
Awesome. Okay.
Whichever one you want. You can.
I will do that. It's just for people. It's just like a resource for people. I love that. I think that's fantastic and fabulous. Leslie Bauer, I love you, to the universe and back, which is kind of a long ways.
It is a long ways.
And back. Don't forget
forever and ever. We've already talked about this.
I know.
You love me forever and ever. So, okay, but do I get to talk to you after you stop us being live?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're so cute. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So to see Leslie's interview, go to soulwitandwisdom.com. It will have the link to the Facebook group that she's talking about. That sounds amazing. Like anything, guys, anywhere you can get like high vibe, anywhere where you can get, inspiration, anywhere where you can actually start a conversation or have a conversation or continue a conversation about who you actually are, fucking do that, please. Like, just like, if nothing else during this time, do that. Love you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.